What's the best way to open your speech or a keynote? I'm going to walk through a 4-part framework to explain this. The first thing you do is you ask a yes or no question. This is a great way to engage your audience by getting them to actively listen rather than passively listen, because the beginning of your speech is the most important. That's when their attention is highest. For example, how many of you have ever been bullied before? Raise your hands. Second thing you do is you tell a story. And that story is the perfect segue from that question. For example, I can tell you that I've been bullied ever since I was 8 years old. People telling me I could blind you with dental floss, or speaking fake Chinese to me, even though I was born in this country and don't even speak Chinese. To even now, where whenever I put out a video trying to teach people how to communicate better in English, people say, "How could you take advice from a Chinese man?" That used to hurt me like crazy. I used to want to paint my skin a different color. I used to want to dye my hair blonde. I used to want to never go to school again. But it wasn't until I did 3 things that it turned everything around for me. This is the third point, which is to segue to your point. Your point could be up to 3 points, because typically people can remember things only in sets of 3s. So let me explain. The first thing I realized was that I needed to find what I was passionate about. And what I realized is by teaching others, seeing them improve from point A to point B was the most rewarding thing I could ever get. It started with me coaching people table tennis. It's now gotten me to teaching people how to communicate. The second thing I realized was I needed to stay consistent with my passion. Regardless of what people thought of me or how people looked at me, I knew that if I stayed consistent on my passion, I would get results and I would help people. And the third thing I did was I changed my mindset from anger to empathy. Whenever I hear someone make fun of me for my looks, for my race, I say to myself, I feel bad for you. I feel bad for you. I disregard it. I let it go, and I move on. They're not worth my time. They're a lost cause, but I'm on to better things. So now that you've articulated your core point that you want people to remember, you can now go into the final point, which is the exercise. For the next 1 minute, I want you to think of that one person who said something to you that was hurtful. In 10 seconds or less, what would you say to them now? Write that down and practice with a partner.